and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we're going to get to know new council member Chris Bowman a little bit better. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Robin. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is. I'm so excited. We're back. Things are moving forward. That's great.
Yes.
So most people in the community, you're not new to the community. In fact, you've been very visible. A lot of people know you. But I want to delve a little deeper and talk about your background and why you chose to run for council.
Well, I'm a Hampton native, and I'm a proud product of the Hampton City School System, and my two adult children graduated from the Hampton City School System. So I love the city of Hampton, and after graduating from high school, I went on to get a degree in political science. And
oh, did you? I didn't know that was my degree too.
Yes, okay, and a master's degree in public administration, hoping to get a career in state, local, or federal government. And then I spent 32 years with the Commonwealth of Virginia in positions.
But you still went from public service to really, in administration, but to specifically hospital and health.
Yes.
How did that transition happen?
Well, I started out in local government, believe it or not.
Well, where was that?
With the County of York.
Okay.
At a very young age in public works. And I had an opportunity to go to work for the Commonwealth of Virginia at Eastern State Hospital. They recruited me there, and I spent the large majority of my career there at Eastern State Hospital working for the Commonwealth of Virginia.
How was that? It's health field, but it's also, to be honest, mental health it carries a lot of stigma, or at least it did back then, much less today. But how did you feel about that transition? What worked for you?
Well, it was quite a transition, to work with the patients and the staff, but once I got ingrained, I was very comfortable with it. And then I had an opportunity to become a licensed nursing home administrator while I was there. And at that time, they had a geriatric population of 450 patients.
Oh my gosh.
The largest in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I was fortunate enough to be the director of Hancock Geriatric Treatment Center after that. And spent about half of my career with the elderly and geriatrics.
That is a good skill to have as you come into city council. Is that going to be elderly issues? Is that going to be one of your, kind of key platforms?
Yeah, I frequented the senior center on Kecoughtan Road a lot to get exposure with those groups. So, I have a keen interest in seniors and geriatric, and especially the seniors in Hampton. Their needs, their transportation needs, their physical needs, their mental needs, the food and what have you, and trying to support that and make sure that all those bases are covered.
Mm-hmm. So what made you run for council? As you know, it is a huge commitment of time and effort, and it's not even a 40-hour work week. It's much longer, many times. That's a big commitment when you're finally retired and ready to relax a little.
Well, I was working in Williamsburg, as you know, and I could never get back here really on time for meetings or any commitments. But I've been retired approximately 2.5 years. And prior to that, I was on several boards and commissions and committees for the city of Hampton and for the city, and kept involved in that way. So when I retired, several people encouraged me to run for city council, and I actually had the time to commit to the campaign process and do it, and I was fortunate enough to get elected.
Well, I would say you committed almost right after retirement.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you were everywhere. You went to every event, every meeting. You were contributing. It just was like an overnight thing.
I tried. you know, and I tried to get out to most of the civic organizations and community organizations and events. And those were important for those groups to get to know me and my platform and why I was interested.
Well, and running in the age of COVID meant you couldn't do any in-person forums, any in-person meetings. Like there was this cutoff, and yet you still won because of all the time you'd already put in and committed to, I think.
Robin,
People knew you.
it was very interesting. You know, we had 10 or 12 public forums lined up, and COVID came along, and all of a sudden they were gone. So you had very limited access to the community, to the citizens, and social media was very important there. And then as you could get out and practice social distancing and meet people, it was very important. So I did a combination of that, and again, I was blessed and fortunate enough to be elected.
So what are you going to do? In addition to issues involving our older population, what are your, I know you have very broad interests, everyone on council does, but what are your kind of key issues or concerns?
Well, I've got several. You know, the people in Hampton want to feel safe in their neighborhoods and their communities. So violent crime is very important, and gangs and reducing that in the city of Hampton. I think we've come a long ways. I think we've made progress, but I think we need to take it to the next level, because the citizens, when you talk to them, some of them don't feel safe. And we've got to provide a city, a community where our citizens feel safe. And there are many ways to do that. I won't get down in the weeds on that.
Right.
But I think we're on target, and we're going to address it, and hopefully we can improve it.
And there might be this swing. I mean, I've seen it in the country where being safe doesn't necessarily mean more police.
True.
It may mean more prevention.
True, could be. Absolutely, and obviously that could be on the mental health side, the counseling side, the supportive side of that, our clergy, our churches, and what have you. So it's going to, private sector, it's going to take a collective effort.
Okay, big one for, I think, every council member, because it's so big for the citizens.
The second one, having lived here my entire life, is sea level rise. In the next 10 or 12 years, it's projected that the sea level will rise around here 10 to 12 inches. And if that does occur, and it will occur, you know, a lot of our streets or front and backyards will be underwater. However, I think the city has been proactive with their dialogue with the Dutch, going over there, them coming over here. They have a resiliency program and process. They've had several large meetings at the Hampton Road Convention Center involving citizens on this. So they have a plan. With me, 10 years sounds like a long time, but we've got to get started now in order to do all of those processes that they have listed to mitigate this problem here in Hampton.
Because certainly what we've seen is that even a little bit of sea level rise increases flooding whenever there's a storm.
It does.
And so you think about, well, it may not be in somebody's backyard for 50 years, but when there's a storm, it's going to have a bigger effect.
Yeah.
I mean, I think half of the top 10 flooding events have been within the last 20 or so years. I mean, we are definitely seeing that increase. Oh,
absolutely. And you know the areas, Buckrow, Fox Hill, Aberdeen, the Newmarket Creek area, Briarwood, all of those areas, if you get 2 or 3 inches of rain, are subject to low-lying flooding. So it's a serious concern. The last thing is the economy and COVID. You know, it's had an impact on our budget, and our fiscal year is July 1st through June 30. So I would expect it to have a big negative impact the first and second quarter of our fiscal year. However, I'm cautiously optimistic that the third and fourth quarter, when it improves, that we can rebound that we can get our businesses open, our restaurants open, the Hampton Coliseum open, the Hampton Roads Convention Center open, and what have you. And in those last 2 quarters of the fiscal year, that we can rebound and end the fiscal year on a positive note. You know, a good example of that is the Jazz Festival. Well, when you cancel something like that, that has about $1 million plus economic impact to Hampton. So when you look at all of those types of events that have been canceled and were potential revenue producing for the city of Hampton, you know, that hurts the overall budget.
And Hampton is a place where we're a lot of small businesses. I mean, there's not
Yes.
huge corporations. We don't have, you know, something like the shipyard or like William and Mary. You know, we don't have a huge business here that dominates. We mostly have small businesses, and the large business like the VA and Hampton University, they're all non-taxable. They important jobs, but you know, in terms of generating revenue, they're not as good. But at least they're sustainable. But the small businesses that really run this place are going to have a little bit of a hard time. But I think people are ready. They're ready to go out to eat. They're ready to shop. I hope we can very soon.
Yeah. You know, and a perfect example of small businesses that I'm just elated about is downtown Phoebus. You know, Sly Clyde Brewery.
That's a place you can social distance.
Fuller's, Scratch, Mango.
They've got outdoor areas,
and some others that are coming. The revitalization of Phoebus has been unbelievable.
I know somebody who got competing offers for their home in Phoebus just really recently.
So hopefully that will continue in 2021, and we can continue that growth in other areas of Hampton, which it spans our economic base, it spans our tax base, and lessens the burden on the citizens and the homeowners.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so crystal ball for me. 20 years down the road, what does Hampton look like? What changes have we made? What are you hoping for?
Well, you know, we have a big revitalization project that's going to happen in downtown, and I think that's key to the downtown area. But that's a key piece. The Magruder Boulevard corridor and the Hampton Road Center out there is really our last area of Hampton that we have land and acreage to expand. And I think there are things that are coming out there and will come out there that'll be very important to the city of Hampton and the economy. Our relationship with Langley Air Force Base / Fort Eustis is very important. You know, the F-22s that are coming, that's going to generate approximately 750 jobs in this area, which is huge.
I know, people keep saying, you're building apartments, who's going to fill up those apartments? I'm like, trust me.
But, you know, and the economic impact there is millions. So I think, you know, continuing to focus on that. You know, we have many jewels in Hampton, like Grandview, Buckrow Beach, Fort Monroe, that in the next 20 years, if we continue to work and revitalize those, I think they're huge for the continued success for the city of Hampton.
We've been on so many lists of good places to buy a house, affordable beach communities.
Yes.
I mean, I do think people will look at it as a place to retire where their money is going to go a lot farther than in some of the other beach communities.
You know, we've been an All-American city several times in the past, but I think that's key. You know, when you get back to a safe community, when you're trying to get the millenniums to come back, buy housing here, work here, and jobs are very important. Some of these things that I talked about will generate jobs that will attract those people.
Right.
That is huge to increasing our tax base.
And, you know, to the millennials, we're an extremely safe community.
Yes.
We are so, you know, the data is that we are really, really safe. But there's this perception that's hard to change. And I think when people move from bigger cities, they're like, piece of cake. But our older audience says, 50 years ago, it was different. So some is perception, some is taken care of, as you said.
And I think we have to address that perception.
Yes.
Robin, living here all my life, there are a lot of people that have that perception.
Yeah.
And being on council, we've got to do a better job to mitigate that and eliminate that. And let me just say one other thing. Our school system, Dr. Jeffrey Smith, the school board, the teachers, and all of the people, the 100% accreditation is outstanding. So that's a huge piece for the city of Hampton when you're trying to get people to invest in Hampton, to come live in Hampton, to put their children in our school system. Now you hear those people, let's say a young couple with some children, are wanting to come to Hampton and get in our public school system because we're one of the best in the Commonwealth, and our superintendent was one of the best in the country.
Yes, yes.
Just so proud of them. So that's huge. You know, when you look in the big picture, you know, it's always been, how is your crime? How are your schools? So the school part has been resolved. We just need to do some better work on the crime side.
Okay. Well, is there anything you want to add before we close?
No, ma'am. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. I've been on council for a little over a month.
It feels longer, actually.
It does. You know, I survived my first council meeting, and we have one here in the very near future. But, you know, I'll just close by this. I campaigned on putting citizens first. So that's my objective, and I will do my best to do that as we move forward.
All right. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you got a deeper, better understanding of the new councilman, Chris Bowman, and where he's going and where he's helping Hampton go. Thanks for watching.